NBA trade deadline is Thursday. Will they be in the market? Well, some teams already busy on Tuesday. C.J. McCollum spent all 9 of his years in the league with Portland. He stays in the West but heads as far east as he can. New Orleans lands the All-Star guard. 4 players and picks headed to Portland, headlined by Josh Hart. And the trade that had by far the most reaction and traction on social media, 6-player deal, includes picks as well. 2-time All-Star Domantas Sabonis, Jeremy Lamb, and Justin Holiday moved from Indiana to Sacramento for Buddy Hield, Tristan Thompson, and young talent Tyrese Halliburton. And he was the piece that had folks flummoxed. He is a versatile player to be certain, and he's just 21. And quiet as kept, for those that aren't paying close attention to the league, one of the better young guards in the league, ranking inside the top 10 in both assists and steals, an elite shooter off the dribble, hitting 40% of his threes in that scenario. We welcome in Brian Windhorst. And Brian, the internet hates everything, but boy, did they hate Tyrese Halliburton getting traded. I would just like to mention again that in Sabonis, you're getting a 2-time All-Star. I think he's one of the least respected 19 and 12 guys you'll ever see in this league, but I get that Halliburton's a talented piece. Your reaction to the deal in totality is what?
Yeah, well, the basketball intelligentsia, of which I am not a welcomed member, loves Tyrese Halliburton. They loved him for a long time before this. And so when they see the Kings, who have been, if I put it kindly, maligned for the trades over the last 15, 18 years, it's an easy target. And look, getting a player 21 years old who has incredible potential, you can't do it every day, which is why the Pacers put Sabonis in this deal, a player they didn't really want to trade. 25 years old, 2-time All-Star, and under a very reasonable contract the next 2 years. And I think he can extend there this summer in Sacramento if he so chooses to keep long-term. I actually don't like the fact that Buddy Hield was in this deal because that really gives another nice piece to Indiana. But
I agree.
This is not an egregious deal. This was actually one of the more interesting deals I've seen in a while.
Quickly, though, does this mean that Fox is not available in trade?
Probably. They kind of had one too many guards.
Right.
They've alleviated that. The Pacers kind of had one too many centers. They've alleviated that. The trade actually makes sense.
Okay. Now, a trade that makes sense in the minds of many in the basketball intelligentsia and beyond is Harden ending up in Philadelphia. People have, in some circles, just feel like that's a foregone conclusion. Nash and Brooklyn, to this point, have said that's not happening. We know that Philadelphia's got Simmons. I mean, there's a lot about it that could make sense and matches up in a lot of respects. You tell me, what do you believe at this point?
Well, with all due respect, I don't believe Steve Nash because he's just bending the truth every day. I don't blame him. He's doing what he has to do.
Sure.
The sides are absolutely communicating with each other. I'm not saying that Daryl Morey is talking to Sean Marks every hour on the hour, but they are definitely communicating, and they are definitely making progress. Now, this has got a lot of different facets in it. The two biggest ones, Scott, the two things that they have to overcome to get this done. From the Brooklyn side, who else is going to be in the deal? Can they get a guy like Seth Curry, who, as the league has digested this, it's come out a little bit that Brooklyn really does like him. From the Philly side, you're not just trading for James Harden this year. You're trading for James Harden, who wants, at age 33, a $220 million extension this summer. And that's not an easy sign-off for Philadelphia ownership. They certainly would be a strong contender to win the title if they did it this year. But I don't know about paying James Harden $50 million when he's 36, 37 years old. So those are the things that have to get resolved. Now, I will say this. In the last day or so, Philadelphia has been out there looking at ancillary moves, looking to clear salary cap space, looking to clear roster space that suggests they might have something planned here. There is some indication that this could happen, but it's such a difficult negotiation, I don't think we're going to know until we get to Thursday afternoon.
On the way out, you want to mention Kent State's winning streak?
5 games. 4th place in the MAC. They've won 7 out of 8. Their offense is on fire.
There you go.
Big win over Bowling Green tonight. I expected to see that in the A block. I just guess I'll wait for the C block.
I'm not sure how long we're on tonight. We got a campus tour coming a little later. A block is in the rear view. I don't know what I can do about that, but Brian, we got it in. 5-game winning streak. Kent State, big win over Bowling Green. Go get him flashes.
The trade deadline looming on Thursday. We got just a man to talk to. Bobby Marks here with us in studio. So, Bobby, they're having a fire sale in Portland, it appears. What does this mean for Damian Lillard?
Well, we could talk about cap space, which they do have this offseason, $50 million. They've got a trade exception, $21 million. They've got draft assets from New Orleans. It all starts with Damian Lillard. Eventually, they're going to have to show their hands here. He is not going to sign up for a rebuild. Now, can they retool this roster over the offseason? Can they do something up until the trade deadline? Keep an eye on a player like Jeremy Grant from the Pistons, but that is going to cost first-round draft picks here. And I always said that reshaping the roster is one thing.
Yeah.
How do you do it within the 1 year? He's in the prime of his career, and he wants a roster that's ready to win right now. Not a rebuild that's going to be in a lottery for the foreseeable future.
He's been really loyal to Portland over the years, so we'll see if this is it for him in the Pacific Northwest. Meanwhile, lots of talk about James Harden and Ben Simmons being involved in a deal between Brooklyn and Philly. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I think it all comes down to, does Brooklyn feel like Philadelphia can sign James Harden in the offseason with cap space? Mm-hmm. And that's the decision they're going to have to make coming up until the trade deadline on Thursday night. If they think there's certainly smoke here as far as Harden with Philadelphia linked here. If they think there's possibly a deal to be made, we know what the parameters are right now. Certainly with a player like Ben Simmons, and then when we talk about James Harden. Now for Philadelphia, if they think they can just sign him outright, I'm not giving up anything, right? You're not giving up, even a player like Seth Curry. Right. Seth Curry and Matisse Thybulle, Tyrese Maxey is definitely off the board. So if I'm the Sixers, I'm probably just saying, no, Simmons, player like Furkan Korkmaz, and then, you do a deal like that, and that's what you're looking at right now. But for Philadelphia, there's no
Insider Adrian Wojnarowski, who joins us now live. And Woj, just hours ago, you reported that deal involving CJ McCollum from the Portland Trailblazers. What exactly can you tell us?
Sage, New Orleans gets the dynamic scoring guard they've been pursuing really since summer free agency. They missed on Kyle Lowry. They tried to get De'Aaron Fox on a deal from Sacramento, but they landed on CJ McCollum in a multiplayer deal. They also bring in Larry Nance Jr. from Portland, and this is a team in New Orleans that started the season 1-12. They're in the play-in, and they hope they'll still get Zion Williamson back this season. And for the Blazers, they're fully reshaping this roster now. The deal that they made with the Clippers last week with Norman Powell and Robert Covington, and now this deal today, that'll gives them a $21 million trade exception they can use now over the next year, and potentially $60 million in cap space this summer to reshape this roster. They bring in multiple picks. They get New Orleans lottery protected pick this year, which if it lands between 5 and 14, then Portland picks it this year or it kicks to 2023. But the plan in Portland is to continue building around Dame Lillard. And now, they've kind of reset the table, and through trades, free agency, you'll see a very different team around Lillard next season. And so certainly a dramatic day for the Portland organization. A backcourt that's been synonymous with that city, and McCollum and Lillard is finally broken up now.
A fascinating move in my eyes, Woj, because of Damian Lillard, number one, his commitment to Portland. He signed the big new deal, and he and CJ were a great backcourt there. At 31, the window is closing, right? If you're the Portland Trailblazers with a star like Damian Lillard. So they're in win-now mode, right? But the Pelicans seem to be as well. How do you quantify what both of these franchises are doing?
Well, this is a New Orleans team. Listen, even without Zion Williamson, you put C.J. McCollum on the court with, Brandon Ingram. That's a dynamic offensive duo. They haven't really had a playmaking guard who can create for himself. They get that in McCollum. Certainly one of, the really, really good, mature leaders in this league. He'll have a tremendous impact on that roster. And for Portland, listen, their interim GM, Joe Cronin, was charged with reshaping this roster, and I think there's certainly a significant potential. That Cronin, will continue as the GM there. They're letting him make significant decisions. And listen, Damian Lillard has a voice there, and I think he wants to be there. He's eligible for an extension this summer. I think he certainly could get another 2 years on his contract. But this deal for the Blazers, the last two deals, this isn't about rebuilding. It's about now going out and trying to get high-end players to take a roster that had been a perennial playoff roster and see if they can elevate it in the Western Conference. But they've got a lot of work to do.
and a lot of talent to add now.
Yeah, by the way, we do look forward to seeing Zion Williamson get out there as he tries to continue rehab from the foot injury. But timing is everything, especially in that Western Conference when you have the Golden State Warriors, now the Phoenix Suns. It's been a tough run for the Portland Trailblazers to try to compete in that Western Conference. In the East, I mean, all eyes are still in Philadelphia, right? Looking to trade Ben Simmons. I feel like if we do a segment with Woj and we don't ask about Ben Simmons, then we're failing. Is there anything for us, Woj?
Listen, Philadelphia continues to want to bring back, a significant player for Ben Simmons. We know they would love to have James Harden, and whether they decide to engage Brooklyn again, they called them a month ago. We reported Brooklyn told them no. They have yet to call Brooklyn ahead of the trade deadline this week. Or do they kick this to the summer and look toward free agency or a trade then, or other players who may ask out where they are at the end of the season, or other players who may become available? But what seems most unlikely, Sage, is that Philadelphia does a deal with Ben Simmons, that maybe brings them back a good player and a role player, a good player in picks. They want to do something significant with him, and there's no sense right now, that they're willing to sell short and just do a deal to get a deal done at the trade deadline. They seem willing